Hi, it's Dot from dotstrap.com, and today I'm going to be making a dish that I absolutely love. It is my version or an imitation of Chipotle's beef barbacoa. And when I was really heavy and was working, at lunchtime, I would always head on over to Chipotle and get me some beef barbacoa on rice. Well, I don't do that anymore because that was just helping get me bigger and bigger. So I've worked on and sort of, perused. There's a lot of different recipes online, but this is the lowest carb I've been able to get this dish. So it's about 7 carbs per serving, not including toppings or if you're putting it on top of anything, but it's pretty good. And my husband and I just love it because of the flavors. So I'm using, for this recipe, of beef brisket. That's the star of it, is this puppy. And you want to slow cook this for 4 to 5 hours so that when it's all said and done, you can just pull it apart very easily with 2 forks, and you'll see me do that. The other ingredients that's going to go into the sauce that is going to go in with the brisket is I have limes, I've got fresh garlic, a medium tomato, roughly chopped, so it's like big chunky pieces. I have chipotle peppers in sauce. Yummy, and it's a lovely smoky flavor, which is delicious. I have some homemade chipotle salsa that I made. And I have a link, I'll put a link below to the video of me making this. This is made 24 hours in advance because you really want, I'm using a chipotle peppers, and this also has a smoky flavor to it. I've got sea salt. The other spices I'm using are oregano, cinnamon, smoked paprika, again for that smoky flavor. I've got cumin, I've got a little bit of cloves, and just a pinch of cayenne pepper. I'm also using about 3 to 4 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar for a nice little smooth bite. I've got some tomato paste, and I'm going to be cooking it in a beef broth just for some more liquid. It's a wonderful dish. I've already got my oil heating on my Dutch oven. You can also cook this. I'm using a Dutch oven, so it's going to be in the oven, but I'm here all day. You can also put this in a slow cooker as well. Do the exact same ingredients in a slow cooker for about 8 to 10 hours to really get it slow. You just want to start watching it because I know some slow cookers, like mine, cook a little bit too fast at the low level. So anyway, what I'm going to do, I got my oil heating up. I'm using tallow this time around, a beef tallow, just because I'm using beef broth. I want that beef flavor. That's already heated up on my in my Dutch oven on the stove because I'm going to brown the brisket. However, my brisket, it's about almost a 5-pounder, is a little bit too big for my slow cooker, so I'm just going to cut it in half right now. And what I'm going to do is I may have to cut it a little bit more than in half, but we'll see. But right now I'm going to cut it. I'm cutting it with the grain. So we'll try that. And what I'm going to do is brown it in pieces. And when you're browning it in pieces, that pretty much means, actually I'm going to chop off another piece because it's all pretty big. I'm going to brown it for about 4 minutes on each side, essentially. You want to make sure you cut through all that fat. I'm going to brown it for about 4 minutes on each side. And then once I've done, while I'm browning it, I'm going to mix all my ingredients together to make the sauce. So let's head on over to the stove. All right, my tallow is heated. You can hear it sizzling. I'm going to carefully put this in. I always do it, put it down, and I do it away from me. And it's going to basically cook for about 4 minutes. I'm going to brown it for 4 minutes on each side. All sizzled. So I got 4 minutes before I flip it, and then I'll show you what it looks like after 4 minutes. All right, it's been about 4 minutes, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift it, and I'm going to flip it. You can see the brown coloring in there. That's what you're going for. That's going to add flavor. Let me quiet it down. That's going to add flavor. This is at a medium heat. So like I said, 4 minutes. And that'll leave a nice brown on all sides. You're not cooking, you're just browning it. What I'm going to do now, while I've got another 4 minutes to go here, I'm going to go ahead and head over to my food processor, and I'm going to start making the sauce. All right, I've already put in my onions. I have my salsa. What I did do is I took about 1/3 of the cup of the salsa out, and I'm reserving it because I'm going to use that for toppings tonight. You don't have to do that. You can put the whole thing in. It won't make a bit of a difference. I'm about to go ahead and add in my tomato paste. That's really important. I'm going to add in now the chipotle peppers in the sauce. And basically, I use the whole can when I'm making this. I take 2 peppers out of the can, and those peppers basically go into the salsa. Spicy. But this way, by doing this, you use the whole can when you're making this recipe. I'm going to go ahead and add in my salt. The rest of my seasonings are going to get added in. Woo! My apple cider vinegar. I'm going to add in the beef broth. And then the final thing I'm going to be adding is lime juice. And I use freshly squeezed limes. You can certainly get the stuff that comes out of a tube. Just make sure there's not a whole lot of preservatives or sugar added to it. You want the natural, there'll be sugars, but it's the natural sugars coming from the lime. I use 2 limes because that gets me about a 1/4 cup. Okay, I got everything in. The limes are all squeezed in. I'm going to go ahead and slap my top on, plug it in. I never have it plugged in when I'm putting ingredients in because you don't want to accidentally hit pulse or the on button. Never want to do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pulse it and chopping it and mixing it all together. Let's check it. Ooh. Oh, it smells really good. But what I'm going to do, I'm just brushing down the sides. I don't want to go too deep because I don't know where my blades are and I don't want to hook my spoon. But that's pretty good. It's a little chunky. I'm going to puree it, mix it a little bit more. But it looks and it smells absolutely wonderful. It's going to smell even better when I get it in the pot with all the meat. Okay, just a few more whirls after that. We are all set. I'm going to unplug it so no mistakes happen. Oops, I hit a blade. I went too deep. I knew I would do that. So what I'm going to do is once I'm done browning the meat, I will put all of the meat into the pot and this will get mixed on top of it. All right, I've got the last piece all nice and done. I've turned off the heat from my stove. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding the meat back in. I had to cut one of the pieces a little bit smaller simply because it's a lot of meat, like I said, that I have in here. But before I add in that last meat, I want to start pouring my sauce in. Actually, take my glove off, grab my spoon, and this sauce is just going to go in. All of it's going to go in. You're going to cover the meat, and it's going to cook in this sauce. Ooh, nice and thick, which I love. I'm not going to add it all in yet because I have one more piece of meat. My cameraman is drooling a little bit. And push that in there. Now, about halfway through the cooking time, I usually do a quick little check, and then I'll rotate the meat. You don't always have to do that if you don't want to. It should be fine without you doing that. Oh, that looks so wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take out my blade and I'm going to add the rest of it in. I'm going to cover it up. My oven is already preheated to 325, and it's going to sit in the oven covered for the next 4 to 5 hours. And when it comes out, I'm going to start basically being able to shred that meat like crazy, and it's going to just smell delicious and taste amazing. Now at Chipotle, when I'd get beef barbacoa, I always would get it with the rice. Well, I don't use rice anymore, obviously, but what I can use instead, if I wanted to, would be using a cauliflower rice, just mixed with a little bit of lime and cilantro. What I'm actually going to do here is do a salad. So I'm going to put my beef on top of some romaine lettuce. I'm going to top it with a little bit of sauteed peppers, and I have some of the salsa that I made, as well as some diced up avocado, and to finish off the topping with some fresh cilantro, yay. But that'll make it nice and tasty, delicious, and very much a low-carb dish. All right. It looks absolutely delicious, and it smells really good too. What I'm going to do is, normally I would just go ahead and use 2 forks and go ahead and just start shredding it in the pot. But instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the beef out. Oh, you can see, look, it's just falling apart. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to shred it. But I just take, oh, there it goes. It's already shredding on its own. You don't really have to worry about this. I use a pan, basically, to shred all my beef in, just to make it easy. And let me give you an idea of what shredding looks like. So I'll put that there. You just take 2 forks, and I did this with my shredded pork video, and you just pull it apart. Look how easy it just comes apart. Yep, got some fat there, but it just comes completely shredding apart, and it's so soft and tender, and it just breaks apart easily. I'm going to go ahead and do this for the rest of the dish. But again, this was just because I have a convection oven, it was a little bit shorter, but this was 3.5 hours for me. If you have a regular oven, it's just 4 to 5 hours. You just come back and take a look at it in that time period. It'll be so tender. If it's a little bit tough, let it cook a little bit longer. I'm going to go ahead though right now and start shredding this puppy, and then we're going to be eating pretty soon. All right, I made my little chipotle, or imitation chipotle beef barbacoa salad. I got the beef right on top of my romaine lettuce. I topped it with a few peppers, some chunky avocado, and a little bit, just a tablespoon of my homemade salsa. It smells great. I'm going to be digging in just a moment, although I promised this to my cameraman, so this is his dish. But it's real easy to make. It takes a few hours of oven cooking time, slow cooking your beef, but it's well worth it. It tastes wonderful. And I hope you go ahead and give something like this a try. I'm also going to put down in the instructions on how to make this substitutions for the brisket. You don't have to use a brisket. There are other types of roast cuts that you can use that are certainly cheaper than a brisket is, but they had brisket at my grocery store and I love it so much and I had to get it. So if you like what you see, go ahead, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and also share with your friends. And until next time.